Hi students, welcome to science class. In last session, under the chapter of is matter around a sphere, we studied about what are the solutions, what are the features of the solutions, and what are suspensions, what are the properties of the suspensions, what are colloidal solutions, and what are the features of the colloidal solution, and another one effect that is nothing but that one of the effect of the light that is nothing but the Tyndall effect. We studied about the Tyndall effect. So that's in last session we studied about the types of the mixtures, isn't it? These are the types of the mixtures, that these are the heterogeneous types of the mixtures, isn't it? The suspension, colloidal solutions, these are heterogeneous mixture. So in this session we are going to study how we are going to separate that mixture. Is it clear? In last session we studied what are that mixtures, but in this session we are going to study how we are going to separate that mixture under the lesson of is matter around a sphere. We are going to study separation of mixtures. Under that, first we are going to study some of the methods of the separation of the mixture. First one is nothing but the evaporation method, and second one centrifugation method. Third one, another one method is there, the separation of the two immiscible liquids by using the separating funnel. Another one is separation of ammonium chloride, and last one is the separation by the use of chromatography. And also another two types are there, I will study in the next session. So today I am going to discuss one by one these types of the separation of the mixtures. First I am considering here evaporation method. So evaporation method, it is also one type of the method of separation. What we are going to do here is I am going to explain with the one example. So take a small beaker, pour some water in it, placed on a small table. You have to understood. And take a watch glass, pour some ink drops on it, and place that watch glass on the beaker containing water. So then next you have to heat the beaker now, until the water percentage which comes in the watch glass will be evaporated. So what we are going to do here is the ink contains ink dye and some liquid drops. It is a mixture of ink dye and liquid drops. In this method we are going to separate that ink dye from the water droplets. So what we are going to do here is we are going to heat the ink dye, but not directly, but the help of the steam of water. Why? Because if we are going to heat directly the ink, what happens here? So the amount of the heat is very high, so then what happens, the ink will be get demolished, isn't it? It is completely evaporated, we doesn't get the ink dye clearly here. So we are providing very small amount of the heat by the help of the steam. So I am considering here beaker containing water. We are going to heat the water first. When the water starts boiling, some of the steams comes, that steams will be heat the ink present in a watch glass. Then what happens, the water molecules or the liquid droplets which is present in the ink will be evaporated, and ink dye will be remains in the watch glass. So it is in this process we separate the ink dye from the liquid, isn't it? The ink contains some liquid droplets that will be evaporated with the help of the heat. So ink dye will be remains here. So it is a one type of separation method we are going to use. So first method is nothing but the evaporation method. In this method we are considering the mixture that is nothing but the ink dye or ink. So we are going to separate ink dye by the liquid droplets. So this is first type of the separation method. And what are the applications of this separation method, this type of separation method? So what are the application area? It is used in the manufacture of bulk drugs. So it is used in the manufacture of bulk drugs. Where the bulk drugs are going to be used? The bulk drugs are going to be used in the preparation of the medicines like tablets, isn't it? So it is used in the manufacture of the bulk drugs. And second one application of the evaporation method, it is nothing but it is used in the demineralized water. So this method it will be used in demineralization of the water. And another one use of application of this this evaporation method, it is nothing but used in separation of dry extract like a salt. So it is used in the separation of the dry extract from the salt. For example, I am considering one general example here. The salt where it is made on the nearly to the sea, isn't it? What the process they are going to do in that area? They are going to make a small or a big holes in the land, and what they are going to do, the water which is present in the sea, when the water will comes and collected in that small ponds, the small ponds contains some of the sand particles, but when it is comes and collected in the small ponds, afterwards what happens? Due to the sunlight, the water which comes from the sea which is collected in the pond, that will be evaporated due to the high heat. But as you know already, the sea water has more amount of the salt. It is a very salty in nature, so that salt it is not will be evaporated, it will be collected at the bottom of the pond. That salt will be utilized, that salt will be packed and sent to all we are going to use for the food materials, we are going to use in the food as a salt. So it is one of the application of the evaporation method. So what that application is nothing but used in the separation of a dry extracts like a salt. So it is nothing but the first separation method, that is nothing but the evaporation method. I am considering another one method of separation of mixture here. Second one is a centrifugation method. What is centrifugation method? It is another one type of the method which we are going to use to separate the mixture. So what it is, it is worked on the principle of centrifugal force. What is centrifugal force? In nature, two types of the force, many types of the force are present, but I am considering here two types of the force, that are nothing but the centrifugal force and a centripetal force. What are centrifugal force? What are centripetal force? I am telling one activity here. Take a stone tied into a small thread and start rotating it or start to spin it. So what happens when you are going to rotate that stone with the help of your hand? The stone will be rotated in a circular path, isn't it? So suddenly you free the thread from your hand. What happens? The stone will be goes in one direction. You have to imagine here, you have to see clearly here, when you are going to rotate the stone from your hand, the stone will be pulled by some force from your hand, opposite from your hand, isn't it? When you are going to rotate the stone with using a thread in your hand, the stone will try to go away from your hand. Some of the force will be pulled that stone from your hand, isn't it? That force is nothing but the centrifugal force. Is it clear? That force is nothing but the centrifugal force. But that stone is not goes by that centrifugal force. Why? Because you are strongly holding that thread, isn't it? If you are going to strongly hold that thread, that stone will not be goes anywhere by the centrifugal force. But why? Because you are applying the some force, that is nothing but the centripetal force. You are controlling the stone, that is a centripetal force. The stone will try to go away from your hand by the external force, that is nothing but the centrifugal force. What it is it clear? So centrifugal force, it is one of the such a type of a force that will go away from the centripetal force or the center force. Is it clear? So this centrifugal force is used in the centrifugation method. What we are going to do here is centrifugation. In a centrifugation method, we are going to use a centrifuge machine. A centrifuge machine contains a stand. In a stand, four separate test tube holders are present. We are going to place the test tube holders. These test tubes are very specialized test tubes. They are looks like this. These types of test tubes are present in a centrifuge machine. So in this centrifugal test tubes, we are going to add our mixture. It has 4 holders. We are going to we are going to place the mixture into that 4 test tubes, and we are going to place that test tubes into that 4 holders. That 4 holders we are going to place here. What happens after onwards? When the machine starts, these test tubes are going to rotate very fastly in the machine. What happens here? We are placing our mixture into this centrifuge test tube, in this centrifuge test tube, and we are going to place that centrifuge test tube into the test tube holders which are present in the centrifuge machine. When we are going to switch on the centrifuge machine, it starts rotating. It starts rotating in a very high speed. When we are going to off this machine, that comes to at rest, and at that time, if the mixtures contains 2 soluble products, that soluble products will be separated. The one of the solute will be present at the bottom of the centrifuge, and the solvent will be present at the upper part of the test tube. The solute particle will be present at the bottom of the centrifuge test tube, and the solvent, that is, it is nothing but the water or any solvent, will be present at the upper part of the test tube. We are going to slowly, by removing very slowly the upper part, that is a solvent, we get the solute. So it is another one type of the separation method which we are going to use to separate the mixtures, isn't it? We are going to separate the solute from the solvent. So what are the applications of this centrifugation method? So this centrifugation method used in diagnostic laboratory is nothing but the blood test laboratories, urine test laboratories. So in that laboratories we are going to use this centrifugation method. And under one use of the centrifugation separation method by centrifugation method is nothing but used in dairies and home to separate a butter from cream. Yes, if you observe in your home, what happens if you are in a farmer family, in your family your grandmother going to separate the butter from the buttermilk or from the cream, what process she is going to prepare or she is going to use? She use one article and start rotating like this. What happens here? It is one of the application of the centrifugal force. When she is rotating that instrument, the buttermilk which is present in the pot, that will be rotated, isn't it? So in that process, by using the centrifugal method, our grandmother going to be separate the butter from the buttermilk or from the cream. It is used in the dairies also. In a big dairies, they are going to use to separate the butter from the cream. Is it clear? Another one application of the centrifugation method, it is nothing but used in washing machine to squeeze out water from wet cloth. So here this method will be utilized in which machine? That is nothing but the washing machines. In the washing machines, how we are going to use to squeeze out the water from the wet cloths. Is it clear? So what happens in the machine? Our cloth going to be rotated very fastly. In that process, the water which is present in our wet cloth will be separated by using this centrifugation method. Is it clear? So these are the applications of the separation by centrifugation. Another one method here I am discussing, it is nothing but separation of 2 immiscible liquids by separating funnel, by using separating funnel. This is the separating funnel. It is a one type of the funnel that we are going to use in separation of 2 immiscible liquids. 2 immiscible liquids means these are not mixable. When you are going to mix these 2 liquids, these are not mixed up. For example, when you are going to mix the oil with the water, is it mixed completely? Is it soluble? So it is not soluble. It is a heterogeneous mixture. So if we are going to separate that heterogeneous mixture, so we are going to use this separating funnel. What happens here? I am considering one example. Take one separating funnel. Pour the mixture of kerosene and water into the separating funnel. Pour the mixture of kerosene and water into the separating funnel and stop the stopcock. Stop the stopcock. Place undisturbedly, left it undisturbed for 5 minutes, this separating funnel. What happens here? After 5 minutes, you are going to see 2 layers are present in the separating funnel. That is, at the first we are going to see the kerosene oil layer, second one is the water layer. The water layer will be at the bottom of the separating funnel and the kerosene will be at the front, at the upper side of the separating funnel. Why? Because due to the density of the liquids here I am considering. So density of the water is greater than the density of the kerosene. Therefore kerosene will be present at the upper part of the water and the water will be present at the bottom of the separating funnel. So after 5 minutes what happened, we are going to see two layers. One it is the kerosene oil layer, another one is a water layer. So slowly open the stop clock in such a way that you don't disturb these two layers. Have you got understood? Slowly open the stop clock and collect the water which is present in the separating funnel. You have to collect the water which is present in the separating funnel. So you have to easily collect the water which is present in the bottom. When the layer of the kerosene reaches the stop clock, you have to stop the stop clock. What happens here? The water will be separated in a beaker and the kerosene will be separated in a separating funnel. So next we are going to take another one beaker. We are going to take the kerosene from the separating funnel. This is another one method which we are going to use to separate two immiscible liquids by the help of separating funnel. Is it clear? So what are the applications of this method? So first application is it is to separate the mixture of oil and water. So this method which will be utilized to separate the mixture of oil and water, and another one application is to separate the two immiscible liquids. For example, some of the liquids are not mixable. Mixable means they are not completely soluble in one another. So in that condition, if we want to separate that oils, we are going to use this method. We are going to use this method to separate the two immiscible liquids. So next I am considering another one here, the separation of the ammonium chloride from its salt. We are going to separate the ammonium chloride from its salt. So see here, the ammonium chloride salt possesses or shows. So the ammonium, what we are going to do here is, we are going to take the ammonium chloride salt in the watch glass. We are going to take ammonium chloride in a watch glass and place on a stand. Placed on a stand. We are going to take a funnel. We are going to take a funnel and place invertedly on that watch glass. We are going to heat the ammonium chloride salt. What happens here? Ammonium chloride, it doesn't liquefy. It doesn't liquefy. Why? Because it shows the sublimation property. What is sublimation? You have already know what is sublimation here. Sublimation, it is nothing but the change in the state of a solid directly to the gas, but it not converted into water. It is what is sublimation here is? Sublimation, it is nothing but change in the state of a material or any particle directly from solid to a gas is known as the sublimation. So ammonium chloride shows the sublimation property. So by using that property, we are going to separate ammonium chloride from its salt. We are going to take ammonium chloride salt in a watch glass. In a watch glass, we are going to place a funnel invertedly on watch glass, and we have to stop the mouth of the funnel by using cotton, and now we are going to heat the ammonium chloride salt. So ammonium chloride shows the sublimation property. It will be converted from solid directly to the gaseous state, and the solidified ammonia will be collected at the bends of the funnel. Is it clear? So we are going to separate the ammonium chloride from ammonium chloride salt by the property which it possesses, that is nothing but the sublimation property. It is another one type of the separation. It is just like as a evaporation, but it is something different from evaporation. Is it clear? So we are going to separate the ammonium chloride from its salt by the use of sublimation property. Next, another one separation method I am going to discuss here, it is nothing but the chromatography. So what is chromatography? See here, this chromatography, it comes from the Greek word. It comes from the Greek word, the chroma. It comes from the Greek word chroma. Chroma means color. Chroma means color. So chromatography means separation of the colors. Separation of the colors. So it is also one type of the separation method we are going to use to separate the colors. What we are going to do here is, so how it is going to be work. So I am considering one example here. To take a strip of paper. Take a strip of paper. By using cis pencil, you have to mark at the bottom. One line you have to mark at the bottom. And take your ink pen. Take your ink pen. Drop 2 to 3 drops of the ink on this line. You have to drop 2 to 3 drops of the ink on that line. Then next, what you are going to do? You have to make this experiment or this activity very carefully. You have to place this paper strip, or if you are going to take a paper strip, or so the papers which we are going to use, that is another one types of the paper, the absorption paper we are going to use, that you can utilize here. So you have to place this paper strip into the water beaker, in a such a way that this end you have to place this strip into the water in a such a way that just this end will touches the upper part of the water, the surface of the water. You have to place in a such a way that just it touches the surface of the water. Is it clear? So what happens here, when you are going to place this paper strip in such a way, in this way, what happens here, the paper absorbs the water from the beaker. After 5 minutes, if you left, the water will absorb from the paper and moves towards this end. Water will be moves towards this end. What happens here, you are placing 2 drops of the ink at this line, isn't it? So we are considering in the chromatography 2 phases. One is the mobility, another one is a stable. Mobile phase is nothing but the phase which moves, it is called it as a mobile phase, and the stable phase which doesn't move. So here the water will be moves here from the beaker towards the another end of the strip. So it is a mobile phase, and with this mobile phase, the ink which present on the line, the ink drops which are present on the line will move. It will be dissolved in the water, that will be mixed with the water, and that can move towards another end. You have clearly observed here that ink droplets will moves towards another end of the strip with the help of the mobile phase, that is called it as a water. By using this process, we are going to separate the inks, the ink dyes which are going to dissolve in the water. So it is another one method, that is called it as a chromatography. For about this chromatography, in your higher classes, where you are going to study clearly about the chromatography in your higher classes. So what are the applications of this chromatography? What are the applications here? It is used in the manufacture of colors from the dye. So if the dye contains different types of the colors, we are going to separate that colors by using chromatography. How it is possible? So which color will dissolve very easily in the water, that will becomes first. By using this activity, we are going to separate the colors from the mixture of the dye. Another one use of this separation method is nothing but used in separation of pigments from the natural colors. So natural colors have some of the pigments. To separate that pigments, we are going to use the chromatography technique. The another one use of this separation method, it is nothing but used in the separation of the drugs from the blood. So if we are going to check the drugs which are present in the blood, we are going to use this technique, that is nothing but the chromatography. These are some of the important techniques which we are going to use to separate the mixture. So in this session what we studied the separation methods, nothing but the first one is the evaporation method, second one is the centrifugation method, third one is it is nothing but the separation of two immiscible liquids, and third one is the separation of ammonium chloride, and fourth one is by the help of the chromatography technique. So in next session we are going to study another two types of the separation method. So thank you, we see in the next